study of Psalm 4 based on the Unlocked Literal Translation, ULT, including an overview, background, outline, verse-by-verse insights and applications, summary, and reflection questions. Overview: Psalm 4 is a lament and trust psalm attributed to David. It expresses confidence in God's protection and justice amid distress. The psalm calls for righteousness, trust in God, and peaceful rest in His care, even in the face of enemies and false accusations. Background: author, traditionally attributed to King David. Context: likely written during a time of personal crisis, possibly while David faced opposition from enemies or even his own son Absalom. Theme: trust in God's justice and peaceful rest in His presence. Literary style: a mix of lament, verses 1 to 2, exhortation, verses 3 to 5, and trust, verses 6 to 8. Outline 1. Plea for God's attention, verse 1, 2. Rebuke of false accusers, verse 2, 3. Call to righteousness, verses 3 to 5. 4. Trust in God's protection, verses 6 to 8. Insights and applications, verse 1. Answer me when I call, O God of my righteousness. You have given me relief when I was in distress. Be gracious to me and hear my prayer. Insight: David appeals to God as the source of his righteousness and past deliverance, asking for mercy and attention. Application: remember God's past faithfulness in your life. Approach Him with confidence, knowing He hears your prayers. Verse 2. O men, how long shall my honor be turned into shame? How long will you love vain words and seek after lies? Insight: David confronts his accusers, questioning their love for deceit and empty words that harm his reputation. Application: guard your speech and reject gossip or lies. Seek truth and integrity in your relationships. Verse 3. But know that Yahweh has set apart the godly for Himself. Yahweh hears when I call to Him. Application: find assurance in your identity as God's child. He hears you and sets you apart for His purposes. Verse 4. Be angry, and do not sin. Ponder in your own hearts on your beds, and be silent. Insight: David advises controlled anger. Acknowledge your emotions but avoid sin. Reflect quietly before God. Application: when angry or frustrated, pause and reflect before speaking or acting. Bring your emotions to God in prayer. Verse 5. Offer right sacrifices, and put your trust in Yahweh. Insight: true worship involves righteous living and trust in God, not just external rituals. Application: live a life of integrity and trust God in all circumstances, not just in religious activities. Verse 6. There are many who say, who will show us some good? Lift up the light of your face upon us, O Yahweh. Insight: people long for God's favor and blessing, which brings true joy and fulfillment. Application: seek God's presence above all else. His favor is the ultimate good in life. Verse 7. You have put more joy in my heart than they have when their grain and wine abound. Insight: David finds greater joy in God than in material prosperity. Application: cultivate contentment in God, valuing His presence more than worldly success or possessions. Verse 8. In peace I will both lie down and sleep, for you alone, O Yahweh, make me dwell in safety. Insight: David experiences peace and security in God's protection, even while sleeping. Application: trust God for your safety and rest in His care. Let go of anxiety, knowing He watches over you. Summary: a Psalm 4 is a prayer of trust in the midst of opposition. David cries out to God, confronts his accusers, and exhorts righteousness. He finds peace and joy in God's presence, even amid distress. The psalm encourages believers to trust in God's justice, live righteously, and rest in His protection. Reflection questions as 1. How does David's confidence in God's past deliverance, v1, encourage you to trust God in your current struggles? 2. In what ways do you see vain words or deceit affecting your relationships or community? How can you respond with truth? 3. What does it look like to be angry and not sin, v4, in your daily life? How can you practice this? 4. How can you cultivate greater joy in God, v7, than in material blessings? 5. What practical steps can you take to experience this peace described in verse 8, even in stressful situations?